Welcome Wargamers, this is Doug with 2+ Stuff, and today we're talking all about elves in Age of Sigmar. And we're diving into something more than just rumors and then releases and teasers of models coming out. We really haven't had a great set of dedicated lore episodes regarding elves because frankly there hasn't been a lot of information out there. However, that has changed with the Legions of Nagash Battletome and with a little bit of the Malign Portents book. And a question that has been bothering a lot of people, myself included, who own some high elves, is where are they? We've seen them kind of vaguely referenced in certain books. Some were certainly stowed away in the Zir when everything went to south, but I mean, there's no dedicated presence of them as we know so far. However, in the Legions of Nagash book, we do get a little insight into some of the things that happened to them after end times. Really what it does is it recaps the story that we know while adding information to it. So the recap was that Slaanesh during the end times campaign series devoured nearly all the souls of the elves in the old world. And it was a huge feast, after which the sort of tangible form of Slaanesh became super gluttonous and heavy and could barely move, and was kind of stowed and snuck away by Tyrion and now, as we know, Malarian as well. If you're not familiar with the term Malarian, that is the name that the character Malekith in the old world was given as he transferred into Sigmar. It's most likely just copyright related, but it is the same character. And it does assert that Malarian and Tyrion are the twin elf gods. And that's not saying that they are twin like brothers, but the two of them combined make up the elven gods. They lured Slaanesh into captivity, and then through some unknown process began to extract souls from Slaanesh. But how do we know this? Well, in the Legions of Nagash book, the reason it's relevant is because one of Nagash's most pressing matters is eliminating soul theft. Right? He hates Sigmar for stealing the souls of these great heroes that would have empowered him even more so. But no, Sigmar stole those souls, and so that's what the Stormcast Eternals are. And what's interesting is the Legions of Nagash book equates that level of theft of Sigmar to what the elves are actually doing. And the reason is because elven souls, the souls of immortals, are particularly powerful, meaning the natural longevity of elven folks makes them stand out brighter and more empowering, and Nagash wants them and is noticing that deficit of them being gone. The problem is, there's very little evidence. Nagash sends out minions all over the place to figure out, okay, they get to the scene of the crime where the theft happened and they can't find any clues as to what is actually going on. How is Sigmar actually taking these people? How are the elves actually being taken? Where is Slaanesh? He doesn't have the answers quite yet. The reason being is that Malarian and Tyrion have covered their tracks very, very well. It means they stole Slaanesh away and locked him up someplace very, very secretive, and the process is so subtle that Nagash can't pinpoint where the souls are going from and going to. In fact, the only reason he knows about this soul theft at all is because somebody screwed up. That somebody is Morathi. Now, in this book, we are told that Morathi is the queen of the Shadow Realm. That's very interesting. We've long since assumed that it was going to be Malarian who was the king of the Shadow Realm. Could just be semantics. Maybe her being there doesn't negate him being there, but in no part of this book is Malarian associated with the Realm of Shadows, so keep that in mind. And while helping Malarian and Tyrion sneak out souls, she started taking some of her own choice off to the side. Right hand picked a few people that she really wanted on her team, and Malarian and Tyrion didn't account for this, why would you? And so because of her kind of sloppiness, Nagash is able to sense, oh no wait, there are elven souls, they are going somewhere, they're being taken from somewhere, kind of alerted him to their presence. So he can not pinpoint where Slaanesh is, he's still kind of in the dark on a lot of this, but he was able to notice Morathi's soul theft, because she's so much more sloppy than Malarian and Tyrion are. And at this point in Legions of Nagash, the book segues into what we're told to be is a related story, but it doesn't seem that way. Nagash kind of notices this soul theft happening everywhere, and believes that something is preying on the souls that he believes are rightfully his. Entire fleets of merchant ships are going to disappear. Towns are left with people soulless. They're alive, they're laying there like comatose, but their souls are ripped out of their body. And that little short blurb about those kinds of things happening is in the sort of elven section, but it doesn't necessarily call them out by name. Now, when I think of merchant privateers, it could be the privateers of the Order Army, which were in the Dark Elf Army before. Could absolutely be that, but we're not explicitly told. Regardless of what's going on, Nagash is absolutely livid, and his main goal once he kind of reestablishes power in the Realm of Death is to end the soul theft, which means reclaiming all of the elves and frankly all the Stormcast Eternals that he views as his. Now that's really all the lore that we're told so far on Legions of Nagash, but it does raise a few interesting points. For one, if you are a fan of Warhammer Fantasy Battles back before, last we saw Tyrion, he was kind of being led around by his brother Teclis. Teclis was a very important figure in the old world and in the end times, and there's absolutely zero mention of him. They mention Malarian and Tyrion being the elven gods, but not a single mention of Teclis. Of course, that doesn't mean he's not here, it just means he wasn't mentioned. And following on that point, Malarian and Tyrion being representative of elven gods is very fascinating because they're two very, very different kinds of heroes. This section did note that Morathi is the mother of Malarian, so that lore didn't change whatsoever. She was the mother of Malekith in the old world, so that's really good. They kind of reasserted that, and that they did not assert that he has anything to do with shadows, which is also interesting. Like I said before, it doesn't mean he's not, it just they didn't call it out here. And there are a few questions that this raises. For example, do they still have Slaanesh? We're led to believe yes. In the Malign Portents book, there is a short blurb about Slaanesh's motivations during the Malign Portents looking for freedom, and it still depicts him or her being chained up, has like spikes and stuff in its skin. So I think the answer to that's a pretty firm yes across those two books. Another one is, how do these souls come out? Meaning, they are dead. They were consumed by Slaanesh, so do they come out looking like elves as we knew them? Is this kind of their motivational point for them to make different kinds of models? We've already seen spoilers of the Daughters of Cain coming out with Morathi at their lead. Could it be that things that were inside of Slaanesh's kind of body and self, when their souls are pulled out, they're somehow warped, and maybe that's how we get the Medusas and things like that? That would be incredible, because then you could have elves that are uncorrupted, right, what they normally were, which would normally be the Daughters of Cain as we know them now, and then have them fight alongside their kin, but who are somehow corrupted or infected and twisted by Slaanesh. And it also raises an interesting point and sets the stage for Morathi coming back into the narrative. We know she's going to lead an Order army with the Daughters of Cain, but we also know that she's not a good person, right? She's not a good guy. She's not the person you want on your side. So what does her motivations look like? Why was she stealing these souls? Did she not believe in the mission that Malarian and Tyrion had? Did she see something coming that she wanted to set up for herself? These are all fascinating questions, and I hope to explore them. But this video is just for those folks who ask me, and I get these questions every single week. Where are the elves? Where are the elves? The short answer is they're coming. The GW has dropped more information about them in the last month than they have in the last 2 years. And I do think the Daughters of Cain book is going to answer a lot of these questions. But hey folks, that's all that we know at this moment, and I will absolutely keep you all updated the second I know anything else. And if you have an Age of Sigmar lore question you'd like answered, go ahead and click subscribe and leave it in the comments down below. I read every single comment and respond to as many as possible, using your questions as inspiration for future videos. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here today. I look forward to seeing you in my next Age of Sigmar lore video. Thank you for watching, and happy wargaming.